And now, back to the action with round number 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Combat Sports Live. We're headed into round number 3 of the show. We have a very special guest on the phone calling in. It's fight day for him. I know where he is sitting as a promoter of a big show. Marcelo Ferran is with us. Marcelo, how you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Wanted to touch base with you on the show that's going on tonight, the UWC Ultimate Warrior Challenge number 8. How is it looking?
It's looking good. I think this is going to be one of the best cards that we've had to date. We've had some good ones in the past. We've got some great matchups, some great jiu-jitsu experts. We've got some, awesome stand-up Muay Thai guys going at it. Obviously the Jason David Frank, the former Green Power Ranger, the UWC debut is, a fan base that we may be tapping into that might not normally be the norm for us, and that's all good. And so everything's going real good. So I think that everybody's excited and getting ready for tonight.
We've been definitely following this Jason David Frank story since he started fighting about 6 months ago. He has gotten a lot of attention because he's got a fan base in the United States and overseas due to his time as a television star. What made you want to bring him to the UWC?
Well, his manager, Brian Butler, we work together, always provide some good fighters. And, the one thing that I wanted to make clear, and like I told Brian, and the thing that really attracted me most to it was, it's not a Kimbo Slice type situation. It's, a guy who has accomplished a lot in martial arts and in acting, and, Herschel Walker and these type of guys that just want to challenge yourself, and that's what he wanted to do. We're not turning him pro, all of a sudden and making him a main event. He wanted to earn his way up the ranks. He fought in some smaller local shows in Texas where he trains and lives, and he wanted to take a step to a bigger show and a bigger production and kind of advance his career and see how he would do moving to another level. And I think that's what you're going to see Saturday. So I think the way that we're going about doing it is it's not trying to make him out to be anything more than he is or that he deserves to be, and that he's going to work way up the ranks and see where that takes him. So as a promoter, we want to put butts in seats, and we want to help grow the sport and the fan base of the sport. And if we can utilize the situation, and as a promoter, nobody can fault us for trying to help get more exposure for the sport, but we're certainly not going to exploit the situation and try to make him out to be anything more. And he's going to have to earn his ride along the way.
And with that in mind, because a lot of times you see these tailor-made fights with guys that have made a crossover from maybe another sport or perhaps from a TV background, or perhaps like a career in the NFL, like a Herschel Walker, and they have tailor-made opponents. Tell me a little bit about one thing that I noticed about Jason Frank's opponent is that he's very accomplished.
Yeah, he's actually undefeated with 5 knockouts, and in these situations, I look to help to grow the sport, and my brother fought on the show, and it was probably tougher on him, it was tough on him to try to find fights or to work with matchmakers to find fights because it is a brother, but in the same sense, it was tougher for him because I didn't want it to appear in any way that he was given any type of leeway, and that's the same type of situation. I don't want to waste Jason David Frank's time, and I don't want him to waste the UWC's time. These guys have to prove that they deserve to be in MMA and that they can show that they have the potential to grow, or else, what's the point? That wouldn't be fair to the fans, and it wouldn't be fair to UWC, and it wouldn't be fair to MMA.
You have set him up for a big challenge.
Absolutely, yeah. It's, and they didn't ask for it. They said, look, you guys, we even looked locally to try to find somebody that would be able to fight him, and we thought that we'd get a lot of people to jump in that opportunity, but I've never done an amateur fight. We started out in Florida, and in Florida there is no amateur MMA, and honestly, I didn't even know you could do an amateur fight, on a pro card. And I guess I thought about it later. I said, well, I guess I heard of pro-ams in Virginia. We don't normally do amateur fights, but we do see Jason as somebody that we can continue to grow and build in the proper way and see where he goes. and that's kind of the theory behind it. But we certainly don't want to, we don't want to waste our time or his time, as far as when you come to the UWC, and what we try to present is that is taking you to the next level of challenges. I mean, we've had guys like Antoine Britt and Phil Davis and Brendan Schaub and Chris McRae, and a lot of these guys have come through and they've gone on to big. I mean, we want to be a positive, productive part of MMA. We want to be considered, a part of the sport that's legitimate, incredible, and that's only going to be done if we make matches and opponents for these guys that, that fit the greatest challenges. We don't want them coming and going backwards and having less tough fights than they may have had, but we don't want to make them or try to push them into something that's beyond what their experience level is. So it's tough to try to, to get a fighter a fight that's, equally, for their experience level. But, this guy came about and, we presented him and it was a tough test and they didn't even hesitate. They said, this is what we want. We need to find out what kind of skills and where he really is at this time. And, this guy should provide a real tough test for him.
It's an interesting matchup. And, we're coming to the end of this segment, but really quick, one more question. I'm constantly fascinated by the business of the sport of mixed martial arts and how it's, it's still in its beginning phases. But you've really been a consistent part of Virginia mixed martial arts for the last couple of years, putting on incredible shows. And, we've been telling everybody that we know in our network to come to the UWC to see, kind of the level that you guys have brought it up to. And one thing I'm curious about is, what would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
Well, as the promoter, one of the things we made a commitment to from the very beginning was that we would be a positive, productive part of the sport. We wanted to help evolve some of the next great champions and future stars and give people opportunity. And, what happens if we were to provide a stage for these guys that was similar to like a UFC type event? I mean, how would the psychology of that or the mental aspect of them, a lot of guys have to fight in maybe the surroundings or the stage that they're put in. How would it affect them, to be given an experience that's similar to what they might get in the bigger, UFC or Strikeforce or something like that, and how does that help evolve their growth? So I think, obviously with Caleb, your EFC champion, this is a challenge for him, and that's, from the guys that have grown to the top of the amateur show, or they're as far as they can go, that want to make that leap, to the guys that have grown in the UWC and are moving on. Those are some of the challenges, because you want to make sure that these guys are evolving at the right pace, and they're not being pushed into it or going too fast. Of course, the bigger the show, the more money it costs, and the bigger the production, the more people, the more moving parts, and there's just so many things, as to put on one of these shows. So, it certainly can get frustrating, and it's certainly exciting, and there's so many aspects to it, and there's so many working parts of the show. But at the end of the day, we are, you and I and all the other people out there, we are helping to be part of history. And, I've got different businesses and different things I'm involved in. It's not, I do MMA because it's become a huge passion. And at the end of the day, I just want to have had some sort of impact on the history of the sport, because how often do you get a chance to be part of the history? So even with all the different moving parts that there are, and all the frustrations there can be, and the different things that can happen, at the end of the day, it all pays off when you hear the roar of the fans, and you see guys actually evolving, into the pro level, or up to the higher levels, and that's where we get most satisfaction out of doing it.
Certainly. And when you've got guys like Chris McRae and Antoine Britt and John Dodson and Mike Easton that are all growing and evolving in your promotion, I think it's easy to say that you are certainly a big part of the history of mixed martial arts, absolutely a leader in Virginia mixed martial arts. And Marcel, I just want to thank you for your time. Thanks for calling in. I know this was a big sacrifice to you on game day, and we will be talking with you here in the next few hours. Cage side, can't wait.